Hi everyone, and welcome to the Spencer Lodge podcast with our incredible partners and sponsors, Najahi Events. Now, don't check out Najahi Events right now. Go check out the Najahi Tribe. If you're sat at home and you're struggling because you can't go to work, now is the time to learn something, learn a new skill, learn more about yourself. Maybe it's spirituality. Maybe it's something in your career that you could do to develop yourself. Najahi Tribe have hundreds of awesome coaches there, and you can go and get some great content for them. So go check it out, Najahi Tribe. Right, on today's show, how about let's talking ourselves to a CEO with 14,000 employees. Want to know what he's going to say about Corona? Cue the music. On today's episode, we have the incredible David Stockton. He's been here in Dubai for some time, but managing 14,000 employees, the CEO of Dulsco. David, thank you very much for coming to the show, sparing your time. I know you're a busy guy. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Spencer.
So you're a podcast veteran?
I'm afraid I am. Always useful to get some insights from others and listen and learn, obviously.
So tell us about yourself. Obviously, there's an audience out there that let's deal with the order of the day. I could talk all about your career and your life, but I'm not. I'm scrapping that. We've got to deal with COVID-19 and the coronavirus. Give me a CEO's perspective on it, please.
So look, I guess, the sort of characteristics of what we're all going through at the moment. I guess, how do you epitomize it? We're all in the same storm, but we're just on different boats. And going in different directions. And I think from our point of view and from my point of view, that characteristic that, I like to think we're trying to achieve is proactiveness, resilience and transparency. When you've got that many staff, you've got to be absolutely transparent with what we're all going through. We've got to be resilient. And key to all of this from the very beginning or before was being proactive. Where were we going to get to? Where are we going to come from? And where are we going to end up? And that for me is pretty damn critical.
When you look at the pandemic, when it started in its early stages over in Wuhan, were you already extremely concerned, or were you like many other people sitting there thinking, yeah, that probably won't affect us?
So look, I know, not trying to sound like Nostradamus or conspiracy theories, but I've been in aviation for sort of 18 years of my life in different forms. And, it doesn't take a genius to work out that when something happens in one part of the world with mass air travel, there is always going to be a chance that that's happening elsewhere could end up, where you are or where you're trying to get to. I had some personal challenges with my mother, who was diagnosed with cancer at the beginning of the year. So I flew back and forward to the UK and was very aware of the mask syndrome that was going around to ensure that people were staying safe. So from my point of view and from our business point of view, you could sort of see to what level, unknown, but certainly something had the potential to kick off. So making sure we were setting our priorities within our business, first of all, people, because we're a people-intensive business. We've got a duty to the communities that we look after. So our health and safety, our welfare, and all that empathy that comes with, looking after to your product, which is with our staff. Our clients were going to start to be affected at some point in either, small or large scales, but I don't think, anybody had any indication of just how big and how fast this could change. And I keep, saying to my kids and my wife, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we're seeing all of that every single day. This thing changes and metamorphizes so quickly that, we've all got to be prepared and ready really for it. So yeah, it's been a massive learning experience as well.
When you look at your business, it's employing so many people. Does it cover many different industries, or are you focused on one particular area? I mean, waste management's a big part of what you do, isn't it?
It is, but it's probably only 30% of what we do. I mean, Dulsco is 85 years old, so it's been around before the UAE was formed. It was Dubai. It was very much built on the creek and stevedoring. So our main two verticals are really people, and those are then sub verticals within that people of our manpower, our white collar work, and our temporary employment, and then there's our waste management, which is split between commercial and industrial. So, you know, we are affected by all forms of business change, positive and negative. But it's really bringing that utilization of all of our activities and all of our opportunities and our staff into the need of the hour. And that happened, you know, pretty much early on when the government decided to start to look at, you know, how can they start to change and sanitize the areas where we are. So we repurposed very quickly 3 of our tankers into mass sprayers, which have, you know, continued to spray all sorts of places and products around Dubai in the early days of when we saw restrictions starting to happen. And I think that's the agility, you know, and you talk about pivoting on your show. That's I think the opportunity of an agile company to actually support, you know, the communities that we all live and work in as well.
We assume that the big beasts out there, the behemoths like your organization, would find it very hard to turn on a penny and use that word pivot. How easy has it been to get the teams within your organization to really, you know, rally and get themselves organized to move in those types of directions? Has it been, as a leader, has that been a big challenge for you, or something that, because you've got great people, it's not been a challenge?
Look, it's the sort of thing that, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, we don't say we enjoy the situations we'll find ourselves in, but, you know, you cometh the hour, you cometh the people, and you step up to what's needed to do. And, you know, to be fair, I think because we are a large family business, because we've been here and we've got structured ways of doing things, and perhaps you know, they are that agile and we have to get on and do, and we're not governed by having to report to second, third and fourth countries. We get on, we make decisions, we talk to the shareholders and say we want to do X, Y and Z, and we get on and do it. And to be fair, you know, the teams have been coming with ideas. Not every idea comes from one single person, whether that's the top, the middle or the bottom. It's throughout the organization. So I was really proud and pleased to see that the teams were coming forward with some cracking thoughts and ideas, and then just formulating that very quickly. I think, you know, the use of technologies helped us, and we were, you know, I'd say not in the dark ages, but we were definitely not where we wanted to be technology wise. That changed literally overnight, and we were able to go mobile within 48 hours. Of every person that was traditionally in the office was equipped through their laptops, teams set up, you know, the ability to dial in onto all of our systems was done, which meant we could effectively make change much, much quicker than perhaps we had done previously, given the remoteness of a number of people around the UAE.
When you think about that, and lots of businesses, they've had to use speed as a real tool, and that speed of change and that trying to run businesses in a different ways, I think it opens up a lot of business owners and a lot of CEOs to understand that maybe there may have been some sluggish ways about what was being done, or maybe some money being spent in areas that wasn't being spent as tightly from an efficiency point of view. Because there's so many companies I know that is literally lightning speed to get stuff done. I'll give you an example. One of the companies I own is called Safe Hands. And Safe Hands is a first stage training and corporate wellness business. And so we have a bunch of nurses that work for us that go to companies, schools around the UAE and give first aid lessons, training in first aid. And obviously that all stopped the moment that the lockdown came in. And so the nurses, I'd been asking for 9 months to start putting all of the courses they do online. And so put them online, we'll have a digital format, we can run those remotely, those courses will work just fine. And the girls are like, yeah, well, you know, I don't like being on camera. I don't, you know, I'm not comfortable with it. You know, my hair's not right. And so, you know, Spencer, I'd rather not. And so we had to have a conversation with them the other day. It was like, right, this is the conversation. There's 2 choices. Okay. There's make this online, make videos and produce this content and we'll put it online. Or the alternative is redundancy. And this is not a joke. So what would you like? Well, within 48 hours, everything had been filmed, everything had been edited, and everything was uploaded online in something that took us 9 months to try and convince them to do. And so whether there's the kind of like the threat of someone being made redundant, or worse, okay, an SME going out of business, okay, people have been able to move really, really quickly move into other areas. And the ones that haven't, unfortunately, right now are looking to be in a very precarious position.
Absolutely. Look, I think, you know, if you can absolutely move where you want to be, as I said at the beginning, where are we now? Where do we want to be? Where do we want to come out of this? Then we can absolutely accelerate what I think we're all trying to do. That is often, I think, the biggest challenge. This has almost enabled businesses and people to take different decisions. I think the example you gave, and I would add one around signatories. Signatories and contractual sign-offs has been the bane of everyone's life with what I call the magical stamp. If you've got a stamp, you're important, and therefore, you control that whole process. And it bugs the hell out of me when you discover that you've got 37 stamps, which means there's 37 really important people that can't get through that process. So digitalizing and enabling
more... People from around the world won't get what we're talking about here.
I know.
So those of you that are listening that aren't based here in the UAE and Dubai and watching this, okay, we have this system in the UAE where documents have to be signed, but they must have a company stamp on them. And whoever's in charge of the company stamp or that department stamp or whatever it might be has got all of the power, because without it, you're in trouble. So the fact that David's mentioning that's quite funny, because obviously I've been here 15 years and that stamp's been a bane of my life for 15 years too. Sorry, carry on, David.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, and I think it's the multiple levels of signatures. Even though ultimately, from the delegation of authority, you know who's allowed to sign and who can't sign on behalf of your owners. But that doesn't stop the layers of people that like to sign with this stamp. So being able to digitalize contractual and signature thing, and finding a digital stamp now, which is absolutely brilliant, but it's still, you're still having to deal with some people that are difficult to let go. But for me, that's been an enormous step forward, which I think will only add masses of benefit as we continue through this.
When we look at the fact that you and I are sitting here on Zoom and using it willy-nilly, like it existed forever, we didn't have access to this tool just a few weeks ago, and I've got access to it. And part of me thinks, were we stuck in the dark ages for a long time? And we have to understand there's rules and regulations and stuff, but the rest of the world has had access to this for a long time. And to see it being freely used over here has just given us a world of opportunity to be able to get stuff done. You're sat at home right now, the CEO of a massive organization. I'm sat at home as well here, okay, producing what we're producing right now. For you, is it going to change how you think about your day-to-day role? Are you going to work from home a bit more often, see the kids a bit more often? Do you think your staff will do that, and will you encourage it?
I think we probably will. I'm fortunate enough in my early part of the career. I was working from home, and the results were, if you didn't get off your go outside and start doing things in a commercial role, then the results spoke for themselves. So you're naturally driven, but one thing I used to do was long for that social interactivity once a month when the teams all got together to brag board and talk about what's going on. I still think that can be done. I think we can be far more aware of the needs of individuals and of collectives as we come through this. I think it will allow us to communicate more openly, quickly, and avoid that sort of multi-tier dissemination of information. So you start with a group of people you tell a story to, and the old Chinese whispers happens, and it works all the way down, and the story is completely changed by the time we get to the bottom. And I think this will enable us to negate all of that, and actually negate potentially how and why we do certain things, because this use of technology, I think, will drive other areas. If it's been successful in comms, it's been successful in decision making and reporting, why can't we use it in many, many other areas? And I think it will really accelerate, whether that's artificial intelligence, back to the old stamp and receiving of time cards, and someone has to look at it and someone has to look at it again and again. Well, let's move to digitalization. Let's look at how we geofence, how we adapt, how we're working, and really change the whole process, which will, I think, allow more people to offer more services and more solutions to people than they've ever done before. That's my view.
Okay, interesting. Now, you're a CEO, and a lot of people sitting here that would think, oh man, what a great position he's in. He's a big boss at a big company and done very well for himself. I know you trained as an accountant. Is that correct?
No, I didn't actually. I'm going to really shock you now, and apologies that someone told you that. But actually, my beginning was I was a chef.
Never.
Yep. Back in the day, I was.
That's
I trained.
It's one day for me, and they're both trained as chefs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Tyrone Reed, the CEO of Alabar Enterprises, I interviewed earlier, he trained as a chef too.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, but what it taught me was great values of customer, damned hard work for very little pay, Ultimately that drive and determination to create a best solution or a best product, because you got one chance to impress people and you want them to come back. And some of the great learnings of the people I worked with was fantastic. And, that's what made me then ultimately come away from it, because I saw there was two worlds. There was the cheap and cheerful, which I wasn't in, and there was the ultimate luxury high end. And I thought there was no middle ground. So I used to see all these great ladies and gents coming every weekend for wonderful meals with nice cars in the car park, but all had weekends off, and I didn't. I thought I fancied a bit of that, so I went into the commercial world.
So how did you make that transition?
I went to work for Cadbury at the time, actually, as a trainee sales rep, and I worked my way up in what was Cadbury Typhoon, with a management buyout from Cadbury. Then joined another big food company, so the sort of common theme here was food. Then took a year off to travel around the world with my wife for a year before we had kids. Then came back and joined BA for 10 years, where I headed their global F&B program. And then went into private equity companies, again around aviation and food and service, till I joined the world's largest security company before I turned up at Dulsco 3.5 years ago.
And so when you think about those decisions that you've made along the way with your career, what was the best decision you made, and what was the decision that you made maybe that you could have, if you had your time again, you might have made a different one?
I think that, look, the best decision I made was asking my wife out on a date when I was a chef, and some 30 years later, we're still together. Two great kids. I guess the career things often have been made for you. You do the job to your best of your ability, and you have an idea about perhaps what you want to do, but then you get good people around you and good mentors supporting you that actually see something perhaps you can't see. So, sort of wood from trees. And I think every decision's been made that I've made when I've either been offered or gone for something is because I'm genuinely interested in what I do. And I call it the Blackpool Rock Syndrome. You snap your half and you can see the brand within you. I haven't had that in every place I've ever worked. I do now. And it's something that I tell people, you've got to believe in what the hell you are doing. You've got to believe in the people you're working with. And if they're not the right people you're working with, it will be a reflection on you. So do something about it. And that's, I guess, I call it, you've got a lot of secret soldiers. There's a lot of people working with you, and that key is with you, not for you, not against you. If they're against you, deal with it. But they've got to be working with you, almost that secret society, the power of the invisible.
Okay, let's just move back to this company that you run here. I want to just talk to you about mental health for a while. Okay, just a few minutes on that. There's 14,000 people. Now, there'll be an extract of everyone. There'll be the guy that's living on his own in a one-bedroom apartment. There'll be the lady that's living on her own. There'll be the guy that's living in a shared accommodation, and vice versa. There'll be the family with kids. There's a lot of stress being put on a lot of families right now, and a lot of people right now having to work from home. And if I was living in a one-bedroom apartment on my own and had done for the last 30 days, I don't even know where my head would be at. It's tough enough, and I'm very lucky to live where I am, but it's tough enough with the environment that I'm in. How do you deal with that as a business? How do you take care of your employees from that perspective, knowing that when they come out, obviously there'll be a big sigh of relief for people, but there's also going to be some people that have gone through some challenges. And then I'm sure, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute your business, but whether it's furloughing and redundancies and stuff like that, there's lots of people out there that are going to be facing big challenges.
No, you're absolutely right. And, mental health is something that I personally believe a hell of a lot in. I was very honest and transparent of some challenges that, I've been through, family members have been through, and I speak openly to my team about it. We've invested as a business into mental health with 14,000 staff. You look at the demographics of some of that staff, and if one person commits suicide globally every 43 seconds, that's a horrific statistic, and they're predominantly male, horrific statistic, and they certainly have a higher proportion coming from a lot of the demographics that live and work over in the UAE and the Middle East. So it's something that we all have a part to play. As a business, again, investing in welfare officers, and we have a great lady leading our welfare team that actively engages. We've also supported our staff with LifeWork. So we've taken membership of LifeWork so that everybody has access 24/7 to talk about mental health. It's really, really difficult for some people, but I'm a great believer in leading from the front. If you can tell people perhaps how some days it affects you, some weeks, months, and tell them some of the stories that perhaps you've been through, there's more openness to be sharing what's going on. And it's been a stigma, I think, for far, far too long. So it's vitally important that people know it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to say, I need some time out, and no questions asked. Here's some pointers of where you can go. Again, communication, transparency, openness is key to everybody. And on my town hall this morning, or the virtual town hall this morning, I said, let's talk about the elephant in the room, everybody. You know, I know you can't all talk back, but we've done everything we can so far, and I'm avoiding everything I can to not have to lay people off or to take a salary sacrifice. I made that choice personally, my choice in February, because I felt something was coming. And I knew that if I do it, then everyone else will understand if it comes, there's a reason for doing so. And that has, you know, an effect on everybody by actually letting them understand that we all know what we're trying to go through. And if we get to that point, we cannot stop it from happening, we'll be transparent about it and when, and we'll give a timeline for when and how long and how it's under review. And that, to me, is part of mental health. It's not shocking people. It's not giving them no choice. It's not giving them any way through. It's giving them an opportunity to understand why, what, and how. And, you know, I think a balance of external support, internal support, mass communication to everybody so they understand what's going on will be a great help. And it's something we're going to continue with. We can't underestimate the work that the welfare team does in our organisation anyway.
Do you think the employees, when they get back to work, might just value each other a bit more and value the sense of community a little bit more because they've been pulled or torn away from it for that period of time?
I really hope so. You know, I really, really hope so. As I said at the beginning, you know, we're all in the same storm, just on different boats. I think a lot of those boats are coming more and more together. I don't think we're heading for, in my opinion, a perfect storm. I do think that, and I hope and pray that when we come through all of this, there will be so much more focus on the community and doing things for each other rather than for yourself. You know, I've always tried to bring the values, my wife and I, with the kids, of want and need. You know, everybody wants something, but do you actually need it? And as you go through society of seeing people's views on life, I hope that this changes a lot of people. And I think here, you know, there's a very transient nature of people, and we see people coming and going. You know, we're here and have been here for the long term, so we're not going anywhere. I think a lot of people that come and work here fall in love with the place and stay, as we're testament to doing that. And I think when we come through it, we'll see a lot more, I hope, but I do believe we'll see a lot more people far happier with each other and what they've got rather than what they want.
That's a really good point. Okay, last couple of questions. Economy.
Yeah.
We can see 22 million people, I think it is the latest numbers, of unemployed in the United States. We can also see some protests out on the street in the States as well, with some tweets from Donald Trump suggesting that the governors should let people get back out there and get back on with their jobs, after him saying, I'm in charge of the country, and then someone reminded him that he wasn't in charge of every state. We've seen the numbers shoot up in the UK as well, and for sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be unemployed in Italy and France and Spain, etc., in the oncoming weeks and months. It's been said that this pandemic is the worst thing ever. It's, you know, unprecedented, but I've been around for a while, as you have too, and I think I heard that said as well in 2008. It's unprecedented, which it was. I remember when the internet bubble burst in 2001, I was literally working with people in companies who the secretaries and the receptionists on the front desk thought they were millionaires on paper because of the value of the stocks within their businesses. I remember, as you will remember, Black Monday in 1987 in the UK, where the stock market crashed. We've been through recessions before. We've been through a recession that was bigger than all other recessions since the Great Depression, as they described it last time before. Are you fearful, or what is your opinion on what you think as a business leader is going to happen to the economy, first of all here and globally as well?
Look, I think let's deal with here first. Our economy that we live and work in and support and look to share with is built, has been built on hydrocarbons and obviously on aviation. Aviation accounts for 29% of the GDP. So the sooner the better that both ends of the country's aviation can start to pick up again. And I think that's never going to change the thirst for the human spirit to travel. You can't look at everything on the internet. So there is a want and a need, in my view, to be able to go and smell and touch and feel and experience all of these different cultures that, at the moment, nobody can. So at some point, that's going to come back. When that is, I hope it's in the shorter term, because I think as the world gets to grips with all of this, and, there is more segmentation of positive and negative and vaccine and herd immunity and antibodies, whatever it is the professionals are all doing to be able to ensure we get through this. I do think as we come through it, we've got the potential then to sort of see rise and falls, as we do every year with other, viruses, be it flus, be it whatever, and we've been through it with other things. So I think there will be a continuing effect on the economy of nervousness and scared. But I think on the positive, there'll also be an upside of people saying, you know what, I'm getting on with it, because I need to go and do, I need to go and see, I need to go and feel and touch. And also on the back of that, there will be businesses that will, work with industries to be able to say, I'm going to help you try and control whatever this thing is by, whether that's sanitization, whether that's cleaning, whether that's product development of pharmaceuticals or whatever. So we're going to have in my view, a direct need of people talking to each other, working with each other, distributing whatever it is that we need to be distributed. So I think we will, whether it's the V, the U, the curves, I think it's too difficult to call that, and there's far more intelligent people than me that can come up with that. Practically, from our point of view in the UAE, I think we're going through a blip. We've been hit heavy of with 2,500 people in aviation that are at the moment not doing things, but we're getting them to do other things and support the community in a different way. It's not their skilled job they were there to do, but they would rather be doing something else than doing nothing. So I think we'll start to come through this. I do feel, globally, different countries or, different storms or different ships in those storms are going about it slightly differently. And therefore, once we get through the next phase of the social distancing, and I think people have got more data and fact on how this is affecting their countries, we will start to see people come out, if you like, and allow themselves to start integrating again. But I think, my view, it will be in a controlled way, which is, again, in my view, the right thing to be doing, because it's so many things unknown. So I think anybody to call the economy and say we've hit the bottom, good luck, because I don't know, I'm not sure anybody does. But I think you've got to stop thinking about how are we at the bottom and get on with the now. What do we need to do now? What's going to put us in the right place when we do come through this? How are we going to be when we come through this? And what are the opportunities, both as an individual, as a company, as a community, as a country, that we can do to make things different and to ensure that if we go through these rides up and down, we're actually in the best position that we can to sustain the longevity of our businesses, our individuals, our families, etc.
Somebody said to me that Expo 2020 being delayed is going to cause a problem. I'm like, look, this is Dubai. And in all my years of living in Dubai, they would have been a mad rush to get that finished off at the last minute so that it was ready to go. And now they've got another 12 months, which means I think they might just make it perfect down there with having that extra time to get it done. What do you think about 2020?
Look, we're a partner of Expo 2020, and it's been a fantastic journey for the last 2 years with them, getting to the point that we've got to today. Nothing stopped for us. At the end of the day, you're absolutely right. If we thought it was going to be perfect when it opened its doors this year, there is no excuse whatsoever now to be delayed for some 18 months from this moment in time, or a year's delay from the actual opening time, that it isn't beyond perfect. So everybody will be working doubly hard to make sure that this is perfect beyond perfect, because if it's not, then we've spectacularly failed. but it's such an exciting thing to have been a part of and be around, and seeing that thing change every single week. And certainly from my team's perspective, who are on site living and breathing this, it's a phenomenal thing that's, I hope, going to be almost a celebration of the world and what we can come through as we come out the other side, and couple that with the Olympics next year. There's every good reason to be looking forward.
There's whatever your fancy, whether it be the golf, the cricket, the tennis, the rugby, the football, no matter what it is, you're going to have so much of that you're not going to see. And the excitement's just going to be so much more to be able to go and see these tournaments. My father's 75th birthday present from my mum was to go to Augusta to go and see the Masters. And
Wow.
Just a week before all the lockdowns happened, he got the gift for his birthday. And so he was like, yeah, I can't wait to see the Masters. And his buddy that lives near him as well, they were going together. So the buddy was 50 and my dad was 75. And it was just like, how cool is that? Off to see the Masters. But now they've got a whole year's build up before they go to see it. So it's going to drive them both mad, because the excitement's going to be huge. So I think a lot of people are going to feel that kind of way,
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward, it's the Lions Tour next year. I think that will be, I hope it continues and goes ahead in South Africa, because it's, again, another thing, just another milestone to be working towards and actually aiming for, rather than just focusing on, okay, what happened last week, or the numbers are terrible. Right, let's start, what are we going to do when we come through this? Come on, what's post-COVID-19 world look like?
David, I really appreciate you talking to me and taking some time out. I'm sure if you were at the office, it'd be much, much harder to get your time. So I appreciate you taking time to talk to me today, sharing your thoughts and introducing yourself to this awesome audience that love to listen to entrepreneurs, business leaders, CEOs, share their thoughts in a real kind of down-to-earth fashion, which you've done. So I'm very grateful for you doing that.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Spencer, and good luck, stay safe and stay connected.
Excellent stuff. Well, there you go. We've got the awesome David Stockton, CEO of Dulsco. So what did you learn through that conversation? What kind of things did you pick up there? He's a real frank, open-minded, kind of down-to-earth type of chap. And I think sometimes, the misconceptions about people that are running massive organizations exist. And there you go. There's a prime example of someone that is just like you and me. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Do what you need to do. Go like, subscribe, leave comments, leave recommendations. Let me know how you're enjoying the content that we provide you. And let me know who you think we should get as our next guest on the Spencer Lodge podcast. We'll see you soon, folks.